Hello everyone. For my second YouTube video, I'm going to be talking about one of Trump's favorite phrases, America First. But there are a couple of things I want to discuss before I get to that. Last week's video hasn't gotten too many views yet, but I didn't expect to be popular at first. It got the attention of one YouTube viewer though, named Cultured Patriot. Cultured Patriot's banner reads 308, the solution to illegal immigration. 308 is in the gun caliber. He was kind enough to leave a comment which read, "I'm a Trump spy. Just copied your video and sent it to higher ups. Good luck making it back out." Well, that kind of feels like a threat, but I appreciate the share. I have no idea if this guy is a Trump spy or if he has any higher ups to send my video to, but it shows something about some Trump followers. They're willing to choose violence to achieve their means, and I see my video, which was pretty mild, is something that deserves consequences because it spoke out against Trump. All rather fascist ideas. Speaking of fascism, I've been reading a book called The Coming of the Third Reich by Richard Evans. The part I was just reading today covers Adolf's thoughts about propaganda. Here they are. Propaganda must always be directed at the masses. All propaganda must be popular, and its intellectual level must be adjusted to the most limited intelligence among those it is addressed to. Consequently, the greater the mass it is intended to reach, the lower its purely intellectual level will have to be. The receptivity of the great masses is very limited. Their intelligence is small, but their power of forgetting is enormous. In consequence of these facts, all effective propaganda must be limited to very few points and must harp on these in slogans until the last member of the public understands what you want him to understand by your slogan. And it has to appeal to the emotions rather than to reason, because the people, in their overwhelming majority, are so feminine in their nature and attitude that sober reasoning determines their thoughts and actions far less than emotion and feeling. Finally, propaganda has to be continuous and unvarying in its message. It should never admit a glimmer of doubt in its own claims or let them see the tiniest glimmer of right in the claims of the other side. Trump has obviously learned these lessons very well. Adolf says that propaganda needs to lower its intellectual level to be received by the masses. I discussed this in last week's video, how Trump appeals to the less educated in our population. I have no problem with people not choosing to become educated, but I do blame the person taking advantage of that fact. Adolf also said that you have to repeat your slogan over and over until everyone gets it, which is what Trump does at his rallies. He says things over and over and over again. And he appeals to emotion, as Adolf suggested. All of Trump's messages are meant to draw anger from his followers. And Adolf said you can't admit a glimmer of doubt, which is one of Trump's primary characteristics. He never admits being wrong, even when it's obvious that he is. I think that covers everything. And now we can talk about the history of the phrase America First. I'll mostly be drawing on this book, Myth America, which is written by a bunch of people, but I'll be covering the chapter on America First. Welcome back. So, like I said, I'm going to be reading from this book. In this particular chapter, chapter 5, if you'd like to read along, is America First by Sarah Churchwell. And I'm just going to read some excerpts because she can honestly do this a lot better than I can. And since I just have a week to prepare these things, and I have a job and children and a dog, I can't write full-out research reports. So I'm going to read some excerpts. I hope Sarah Churchwell doesn't mind, but I think since I gave her credit, she'll be fine with it. So here goes. America First is not a threat but a promise, Michael Barone pronounced after Trump's inauguration in the conservative Washington Examiner. The phrase America First is in in an inaugural address in, say, 1949 or 1953 would have been disturbing for many for understandable reasons. But it doesn't have any resonance for today's voters. A healthy nationalism based on America First points towards a less polarized, more inclusive country. The history of America First, unlike the myths about it, reveal a story less about isolationism abroad than bigotry at home. There are reasons why 4 years after Michael Barone promised that America First would make the nation less polarized, insurrectionists carrying America First flags stormed the nation's capital, threatening to kill lawmakers, reasons that the long history of the phrase makes clear. Political myths. Myths is a hard word to say. Political myths are never far from conspiratorial thinking. The idea that Barack Obama was not born in the United States is both a conspiracy theory and a myth, one promulgated in the name of putting America first, defining real Americans as a threatened minority forced to protect their interests against the menace of infiltration. Throughout its history, America First has been deeply entangled with exactly this type of mythic conspiratorial thinking, from the anti-Catholic conspiracies of the 1850s and anti-British free trade conspiracies of the 1880s and 1890s, through anti-Semitic conspiracies that bridged the 1920s and 2020s, and up to the Islamophobic and QAnon conspiracies of today. America First works as a shield precisely because it imputes innocence to its adherents, maintaining a mythic image of the nation and their privileged place within it that it is at odds with historical reality. At an American convention in 1855, as nativists adopted a platform to restrict or repeal naturalization laws and prohibit anyone but native-born citizens from holding political or legal office, a New York politician gave a speech proclaiming himself for America first, last, and always, thus establishing what is, to date, the earliest recorded use of America First as a political slogan. Here's some of his speech. You have the true spirit of Americans in your hearts. I know it is unpleasant both for speakers and hearers to be standing here in this drenching rain. For one, American as I am, I decidedly prefer this rain to the reign of Roman Catholicism. See what he did there? In this country. I, as an American citizen, prefer this reign or any other reign to the reign of foreignism. I go for America first, last, and always. So that is the earliest appearance of America First, 1855. And I should have mentioned in that first paragraph how that one reporter said that America First would be something unites the country and is inclusive, but then people carrying America First banners were at the insurrection on January 6th. So yeah, not really uniting. In the second half of the 19th century, many Americans saw in Catholicism a plot to undermine American democracy and used America first, last, and always to rhetorically defend against the foreignism of popery. That has to do with the Pope, I believe. The Depression of 1893 was widely supposed to have been plotted by an international Catholic cabal, while the myth of a Catholic crusade of heretic extermination and infanticide persisted well into the 20th century. Why is there always a cabal? This part is talking about Warren G. Harding in 1920, so we're skipping forward a little. At the same time, another nativist group was taking possession of the slogan as well, the slogan America First. The Ku Klux Klan had declared itself reborn in 1915, and by 1919, a Klan leader in Texas was declaring, I am for America, first, last, and all the time, he said, and we don't want any of the foreign element telling us what to do. The second Klan issued a pamphlet declaring its ABCs, which began America First, Benevolence, Clannishness, while the Koran established it. The Klan stands for America First, first in thoughts, first in affections, and first in the galaxy of nations. We stand for 100% American and for white supremacy, declared Kliegel in 1921. We are not anti-Catholic, anti-Jewish, nor anti-alien. We are non-Catholic, non-Jewish, and non-alien. We are for America first, last, and all the time. He insisted, even as the Klan was lynching Catholics, Jews, and foreign nationals, and tarring and feathering other Americans who aroused its ire. By the late 1920s, the Association of America First, with mythic foreign conspiracies abroad and demonstrable white nationalism at home, had become indelible. William Big Bill Thompson ran for Chicago mayor in 1927 on an American First platform, absurdly charging the English monarchy with planting pro-British propaganda in the Chicago schools, exploiting any xenophobic conspiracies he could find, including charges that international bankers are getting the upper hand. Thompson promised to keep it on the issues, America first, no entangling alliances, no King George in the public schools. His opponent accused Thompson of dog whistling. America first was lifted from the Klan, he said, and they understand him very well. Always the dog whistles, too. By the time the America First Committee, AFC, formed in 1940, the phrase had been in use for almost a century, and in political life, had never uncoupled from nativist conspiratorial nationalism. Americans had grown up with the slogan's connotations, knowing that it signaled not only political isolationism, but also a Herrenvolk anti-Semitic white nationalism that strongly resembled the European fascists against whom the AFC did not, for some reason, want to take arms. So the America First Committee was against joining World War II. And this paragraph is suggesting that maybe they didn't want to because they kind of agreed with the people in Germany in World War II. When war broke out in September 1939, Charles Lindbergh, a famous racist, began delivering national radio broadcasts rehearsing familiar eugenics argument for isolationism, invoking persistent hysteria about the old idea of the yellow peril, as he argued the United States need not intervene because there was no Genghis Khan or Xerxes marching against our Western nations. This is not a question of banding together to defend the white race against foreign invasion. Only if the United States were defending the white race would it be putting America first. Lindbergh joined the America First Committee in April 1941 as its official spokesman, his speeches routinely raising old nativist ghosts. They were praised by the Nazi press, which applauded Lindbergh under the headline America First as a real American of Swedish descent, who understood that the danger of invasion of the United States is not from Germany, but from the increasing British influence on the American continent. In September 1941, Lindbergh denounced the foreign elements, he said, were coercing America into joining an alien conflict. The three most important groups who have been pressing this country towards war are the British, the Jewish, and the Roosevelt administration. Suddenly, the dog whistle was audible, the outcry swift and peremptory. Even Hearst's paper Hearst's paper was kind of conservative, but apparently not as conservative as Lindbergh. Even Hearst's paper condemned the un-American anti-Semitism of Lindbergh's address. 3 months later, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, deciding the question of intervention as America First subsided into rapid repute. So once Pearl Harbor bombed us and we had to enter the war, America First kind of subsided in its importance because now it sounded ridiculous. The meaning of America First underwent an almost instant reversal from jingoism to sedition as it suddenly denoted un-American fascist sympathies against the all-out Allied war effort. In 1944, Roosevelt's Justice Department prosecuted for sedition some of the most extreme right-wing groups that had been associated with America First, further discrediting the phrase, but its implications hadn't changed. So in other words, Roosevelt's Justice Department actually charged these right-wing groups like we should have been charging Trump all along, and if he hadn't been a millionaire, I think we would have successfully charged him with some things after um, his first administration. But we were too slow to do that, and now we're dealing with him again. The Reverend Gerald L. K. Smith, once Huey Long's deputy and America's most notorious anti-Semite, built a political career out of loudly attacking the international bankers, who were our constant rulers. Smith founded the America First Party in 1943, promising to address the nation's Jewish problem. In his 1944 presidential run, 2 years later, Smith was still promoting his America First crusade and distributing copies of Henry Ford's International Jew. Henry Ford, another American racist and anti-Semite. Then Smith tried rebranding the America First Party as trying to turn over a new leaf by changing its name to the Christian Nationalist Party. What do you know? The Christian Nationalist making an appearance. Skipping ahead a bit more. David Duke, America's most notorious Klansman in the second half of the 20th century, has been associated with America First since at least 1976. A new image Ku Klux Klan is still bent on riding its white supremacy, anti-Semitic America First stance to glory. 15 years later, Pat Buchanan ran for president, espousing America First. There you go, Pat Buchanan, David Duke connections, all America First crap. Back there with the American nationalists a little bit ago, and Henry Ford, and what's his name, Charles Lindbergh. They're all historical racists. After Buchanan announced a Reform Party in the 2000 election with an America First platform, Donald Trump, a bankrupt Playboy billionaire, unexpectedly entered the lists. Because the Republicans are just too crazy right, Trump said. He decided to challenge Buchanan, a Hitler lover and anti-Semite who was going after the really staunch right wacko vote for the nomination of his own party. So back then, Trump thought that Buchanan and David Duke were two wackos in the far right. The following year, Trump withdrew from the Reform Party, announcing that the Reform Party now includes a Klansman, Mr. Duke, a neo-Nazi, Mr. Buchanan, and a communist, Miss Fulani. Lenora Fulani, don't know who that is. This is not company I wish to keep. He didn't want to keep it back then, but he apparently does now. A few days later, Trump repeated the rejection. Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party. But then, in 2016, Trump announced his own presidential candidacy on a platform of America First. There it is again. And he stopped repudiating the really staunch right wacko vote. David Duke quickly endorsed Trump, saying he was overjoyed to see Donald Trump and most Americans embrace most of the issues that I've championed for years. My slogan remains America First. So you see how David Duke, Donald Trump, they're all willing to go back on things they've said before and completely reverse positions if it means more power. That summer, David Duke announced his own Senate run on America First. Challenged to disavow the support of America's most notorious Klansman, Trump prevaricated before claiming under pressure, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists, even though he had named them a bunch of years ago when he was part of the Reform Party. On November 9th, 2016, Trump became the fourth president in a century to run successfully on a slogan of America First, and the first to openly court fascism. On the day Trump was inaugurated, promising, it's going to be only America First, America First, Duke gave an inaugural talk on the neo-Nazi platform Stormfront.com titled White Revolution and America First, declaring the first day of Trump's presidency the official first day of the White Revolution. After Trump's protracted loss in 2020, Republican members of Congress Matt Gaetz of Florida and Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia attempted to maintain the momentum of his ethno-nationalist America First movement. America First isn't going away. We're going on tour, Gates declared in May 2021 as he and Green announced the formation of the America First Caucus, to which they gave the familiar initials AFC. Their partner in this venture was Congressman Paul Gosar, who had joined forces in the summer of 2020 with Nicholas Fuentes, a Christian nationalist and Holocaust denier who has hosted an American First program on various online platforms since 2017, where he sells AF merchandise and promotes white supremacism. Insurrectionists who stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021 included not only Women for America First, but also standard bearers waving the AF flag of Nicholas Fuentes, who is partly of Italian and Hispanic descent and identifies as Catholic. And finally, in a long essay that detailed the presidents of America Firsters at the January 2021 insurrection, The New Yorker reported that Fuentes distilled America Firstism into concise terms for his followers when he gave a speech declaring, "It is the American people and our leader Donald Trump against everybody else in this country and the world." Pure Americanism hasn't defeated the universe yet, but because America First keeps trying, its list of enemies only grows. The names and dates may change, but the plot remains the same. So that's all I got about America First. I think I commented along the way on most of it, so I don't have anything to add at the end other than be careful what you believe, and it's important to know the history of things that are being used now, because it really is just a repeat of history with America First, with the propaganda of Adolf. All of it just goes round and round again, and they take on a new batch of uneducated people who don't know any of that, and they seduce them or scare them or make them angry about transgender people or scare them of immigrants committing crimes to excuse the horrible things that his secret police force are doing now, and I'm sure it's only going to get worse, committing murder, etc. You know the stuff. All right, thanks. Have a good one.